It was roughly September, October of 2019 when I uploaded the last video on this Cherokee. It is now May of 2021. I recorded some footage of other work that I did on this after that and just never got time to put it together and upload it. So I'm going to do that now, this video, and it may be another one or two with the rest of that thrown together. And once that's uploaded, there'll be a follow-up with where this Cherokee's at, what had been done that wasn't recorded, because I stopped recording when I did a lot of the work on it. So the next few videos will have this intro and then the footage, and that's all going to be from almost 2 years ago. That'll at least get this caught back up, because I think I've only ever done one other update on this on Comanche Club that's even close to where it's at now. And there's some other projects going on that I think I may do some videos on as well. So we'll get through this old footage and then I'll throw together some newer stuff on where it's at now. So whatever video has this intro is going to be old, almost 2 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and install a fuel rail. Just put a little bit of oil on the O-rings. I'm reusing the old ones. These are in decent shape. I had them out, the fuel rail off around 2 years ago. Just troubleshooting some stuff. So these are actually fairly new O-rings and they're not split or anything yet. So just going to reuse them. Put it in here. Get them all kind of started. Might help if I took the bolts out. I took the wrong bolt out before. Just going to stick it back down in there so I don't lose it. These, no, they're not different, they're the same. Put a fuel rail on. I always just go over to this side, get it roughly straight, and then push and it'll all go on pretty well at once. Popped in easy, not all seated, so just go ahead and throw the bolts in. I got the fuel rail back on, it's bolted down. Also got the bracket that holds the fuel lines reattached, and the ground strap back here. You're gonna see it back there under that big nut for the head to the firewall. That's super important. But I went to bring the wiring harness back around and noticed here completely melted right there, and that's where bolts right here. I don't know if the heat is due to both of the central exhaust manifold ports right here, or the fact that this is where the crack in the head was, and I'm sure this head was hot without any coolant flowing through it, or just in general the motor. So since it is only that one, I'm leaning more towards it's probably the heat off of this. I've never seen that before, so that's something new on this Jeep for me. Should get in there. Got everything on the driver's side bolted up, all the electronics plugged in, most of the vacuum lines. Still got to put the air box in. Throttle cables and stuff are going to wait. Valve cover's not attached yet. My plan is to turn it over a few times with the valve cover just sitting here so I can pull it off, make sure I've got oil coming to the top. Fairly certain I will. I'm not too worried about that. I also want to make sure there's no bad noises I'm turning it over without actually running. I can get it stopped real quick if something starts making a racket, valves slapping the pistons or something stupid. So of course the battery that I have is dead. This battery needs replaced. It's terrible. It doesn't hold a charge very well anymore, so that needs replaced. But for now, I guess I'm going to put the front end together and wait for that to charge. Then I'll hopefully be turning it over tonight. Well, that was kind of scary. The bolt for this tensioner was completely seized. I couldn't get it to turn either way. I put PV Blaster on it before I even tried to put the wrench on it, but even that, it was rock solid. Luckily it broke loose, but it did not sound good when it was breaking loose, so I got lucky there. But this tensioner mechanism that's on these 4 liters is really complicated. It's got this freaking bar that runs sideways and 3 different bolts that tighten it. It's just ridiculous. Hate dealing with it. Don't really have a choice. But one common thing with these, so the 4 liter is like a super tight serpentine belt, so the general rule that I hear is a quarter turn. So right now the belt's laying flat. If you can turn it a quarter of the way but not any further, it's good. I can turn it quite a bit further, and that's with 2 fingers. So it's getting close. Now if it squeals, we can always tighten it a little bit, but that feels about right. I generally test it right in this area, and I rarely have to go back and retighten, so that method's worked for me very well. I'm sure there's some tool somewhere that tells you exactly how much tension's on the belt, but I ain't got money for that. So, but once it's at the right depth, bolt up front to lock it down, and then a few others around it. And I need a wrench for that one. And this here, a lot of people don't realize. So you'll see 2 heads right across from each other. These are 2 separate bolts. You don't have to put a wrench on this one to tighten that, or vice versa. I've seen people putting a wrench on here while they're undoing this one, and you just don't have to do that. You may actually break that one loose on accident. So that's in there. It's got the right amount of tension. So we're good there. Let's start putting the radiator in. So the radiator I replaced it with, I ended up just making my own brackets. So that there, I took the condenser bracket and turned it sideways, put the nuts on the studs with a rubber hose in here to act as a bushing, then a nut through the top of the cross member deal across the top of the radiator, core support. Then the bottom I just stacked 2 rubber hoses, one a little bit bigger than the other to provide a cushion. Here's Spider. it worked. The top, I think, was actually a little too rigid once it was bolted down. It didn't have a lot of movement in it, and I think that's why that one may have cracked. I could be wrong on that, but this time I decided I would buy new upper mounts. These are branded Rugged Ridge, Omix Eta, and Alloy USA. I imagine they're Omix Eta brand, but they're just cheapos off Amazon. So using those for the top mounts, I'm going to reuse my rubber ones that I made for the bottom with the hoses. Those work fine, I think. So this is the exact same radiator as that one. They warrantied that one because of the crack and the leaking. So this is literally that one, but I got this one for free. So this one will be going in. For some reason, they screwed up the warranty thing, and I didn't have to send that back somehow, even though they wanted it back. I don't know, they screwed up, but now I have both, and I don't know what to do with that one. But so I'm gonna get this unboxed and then throw it in the Jeep. So I got the lower mounts moved over, and also the plastic quick connect for the transmission fitting. Now, the radiator does not come with this connector. I have to pull this off the old radiator, and it's actually off the original radiator that was on this Jeep when I bought it. I just noticed, after looking at it on that other radiator, it's missing one of these tabs. That must have happened when I disconnected it, pulling it apart. I don't have a spare, so I'm just going to put it in like this. If it leaks, I'll get a new one. It's super easy to replace. You literally just squeeze these and the fitting comes off. Not a problem at all to replace. The radiator itself, this is a Spectra cheapo. Just gets the job done. Nothing special. Incredibly hard to do this one-handed. I said I got the lower mounts in there, so I can just drop it down if all those lines would get out of my way. And I can stop holding onto it. This is a somewhat nice radiator in the fact that it comes with the fittings that you need. I've had radiators in the past that I've gotten that you have to transfer over, like this fitting and that elbow down here, because they don't come with it. And in the case where you're unable to transfer those, you're kind of screwed. I actually pulled them off of the original radiator, so I have spares of both of those in my parts pile. So if I ever have an instance where I need to replace a radiator and I don't have those fittings, they're in the parts pile. So I always keep those random things like that that are kind of specialty parts, because you never know when you're going to need them. Well, tried to crank it again. Not enough to crank it over, but that's a problem. Fuel. So I have to figure that out now. I was hoping to get this running tomorrow. Probably not going to happen. Battery, I just need a new one. This one's shot. Front end's all put back together except for the corner trim pieces. Airbox needs to go in. Everything on this side's pretty well in, except for the spark plugs. Really just needs the valve cover on, oil change, and fix the fuel leak, and should be ready to go. Really want to hear it turn over, but damn battery. I don't really want to go buy a new battery without hearing it run. Make sure the motor isn't gonna blow up or something ridiculous first, but I'm gonna figure out this fuel leak because I can't start it with that, so yay. Well, I found a pinhole in the plastic in that area somewhere. I went ahead and cut it off right past the metal. I've got it taped up right now, but I cut it off right past the metal and then slit the rubber and pulled it off. The metal, you can kind of see it on the plastic there. There's two spots where it's got a bevel on it to hold a hose or a clamp. So I can just put a new hose on here, clamp it down, and it shouldn't go anywhere. I'll probably put it deep enough that I can put two clamps on it, one in between the two bump things, whatever the heck they're called, and then one behind it also, so that there's two clamps holding it on there. The end, I already misplaced it. It's over here. The end, same thing. I just cut the plastic off of it. Focus, damn it. See there, it's just a barb fitting basically. Cut the plastic off. I'm going to stick this on the new line with a clamp. I do have new of these. I didn't feel like digging for it, so I just cut this one off. Plus this one's fine. So I'm just going to reuse that. I do have fuel hose, fuel line in my pile. This stuff here is rated for, or not rated for fuel injection systems. It's 30R7. I've got a section here, 1/4 inch, that says it's rated for 50 PSI. So I thought, great, I can use it, and it's fuel hose. But then I flipped it over, and really small print on the back. Focus, damn it. 30R7, not for fuel injection systems. So, not sure what I'm going to do at this point. I mean, I could reuse Comanche fuel line, but at this point, it's probably going to be easier to just go buy something. I'm going to go to Napa tomorrow and hope they have fuel injection rated hose. I highly doubt they do. They probably just have bulk standard stuff, but I'll go get 2 feet of it or so I have it on hand. Just get 1/4 inch or so. Maybe 3/16. 3/16 hose, and have a little bit extra, so if this happens in the future or on the other side, I can replace it also. But yep, pretty much at a standstill at this point. I've got to get new fuel line, a new battery, and I'm going to get new spark plugs. So trip to Napa tomorrow and get that stuff, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to hear it crank over. So don't think I've got anything else I can do tonight, so that'll be it for today.